we can alleviate that learning curve, especially on young engineers, when you have structure, right? Where you know where you have to go, and that's what I was looking. PNC, we do design, but I also go to the field, right? So it's kind of when I'm in the field, my study time go down pretty bad because again, you work so many hours.
So this is a place to be, and it really requires a detail-oriented, technically extremely sound engineer to excel in PNC.
Yeah, exactly. And if you ask me, I didn't have a time frame for the PE. I said to myself, whatever it takes, I'm going to enjoy the journey because I want to learn. And thankfully, I was able to knock out the PE pretty quick.
Hi, Jose.
Hey, Wasim.
How's it going?
It's going good, man. Really good. What about you?
I'm doing well. Happy Friday, and thanks a lot for taking time out of your schedule, Jose. You are a recently minted, brand new professional engineer, right? Congratulations on that. You got your P license what, this week? Last week?
Last week. Yeah.
Last week. Yeah. Thanks a lot for your shout out on LinkedIn. Really appreciate it. I have a lot of students passing every single week. Both FE and P exams, and it's a great sense of achievement even for me to see students going through the FE program, PE program, and all the way getting their P license. In your case, you, just like most of my other students, you started your journey with FE exam preparation with me. I think it was in 2023, if I'm not mistaken. My timeline might be off, and then you continued your preparation with the PE. So I'd like you to give us a little bit of an overview, Jose, starting with your academic background, when you graduated, a little bit of your career profile, what motivated you to dive into the P licensing journey, starting with the FE prep, how you approached it, and so on.
Okay. Yeah. So I graduated in 2016 outside of the US, country in South America. I moved to the US late 2016 toward the end. And I started my PNC career in 2018. When I first started the company that I actually work for, I have been with that company for almost 6 years now. They really encouraged me to get my license and go through the entire journey. So honestly, at the beginning, it was a lot of learning. You know, when you start PNC, there is a lot to learn, and yeah, it's endless.
Do you agree? I'm sorry to cut you off, but do you agree that it takes at least 5 years to get a good handle on what you're doing in PNC? Right? I think 5 years, and that is if you're actually working on good projects,
That's true.
right?
That's
if
true.
you if you're just doing the same cookie cutter stuff for 5 years, you're actually not learning. So it takes those of you who are interested in protection and control, PNC's protection and control. In my opinion, it's an evergreen field within power systems. I don't think you will ever run out of work in protection and control, both in terms of new projects, right? New installations, growth, and expansion, and also maintenance, right? Operations. So this is a place to be, and it really requires a detail-oriented, technically extremely sound engineer to excel in PNC. And the other thing is, remember that it takes, and that's the number I've observed based on my own experience as well. It takes 5 good years working on good quality projects to get a handle on a wide variety of things, and then you can still continue learning deeper. Like high voltage PNC is very different from low voltage stuff, right? And you can actually specialize in system studies, or you can actually specialize in relay programming, commissioning, startup. A lot of it goes hand in hand. Yeah. So just, I think there was a good comment you made there. Okay. So you started with PNC, and then
Well, I have been doing again all I would like to say I have been kind of blessed in my company because I have had the opportunity to work on all different kind of projects. I mean, we cover pretty much the PNC spectrum, going from low voltage all the way up to high voltage. I mean, I have had the opportunity of working on feeder protection, motor protection, all different differentials for transformer line differential. we talked during the preparation. Remember, I remember asking you about some generator protection. So that's what PNC is, a never-ending um, area of our career, right? Yeah, which is electrical engineering. I have to agree with you on the 5 years mark, but also I feel that we can alleviate that learning curve, especially on young engineers, when you have structure, right? Where you know where you have to go. And that's what I was looking at the time. I wanted to study for my FE and my P structure. So kind of a step by step on how to get faster to my final goal. Because that's what happened with PNC. You can there's a lot of documents that you can refer to, right? But sometimes you don't have that structure. You don't have okay, somebody who guides you on that journey, right? And that was one of the reasons I decided, okay, I need training in order to get my FE and my PE, and finally my PE license.
Right. So how did you end up end up in my ecosystem with my FE program? Were you recommended by somebody, or you just came across it through your own research? You were using my books, maybe Amazon, YouTube, wherever.
Honestly, I came across with your I guess on Google. Then I started watching the your YouTube videos, okay, and I said, I remember going through the description of the training, and I said, well, this is what I'm looking for.
So how long did it take you to prepare for the FE exam? You remember when did you start? And when in 2023?
Yes, I started early 2023, but at the beginning I was on and off because for the first 3 months, because I was in the field. I was working commissioning of a substation, and long days. I had to go back to the hotel, talk to the family, study for a couple hours, and then repeat. And there were days that I couldn't really study much because after 14, 15, 16 hours a day, the last thing you want to do is to study.
Oh yeah, I know. And that too, you're in Florida, right? So was a project in Florida, right? I remember doing commissioning in Florida, and that was in springtime. I lost, I think, about 7 to 8 pounds in 2 to 3 months of just walking around, doing all commissioning, providing testing support and whatnot, long days. Like, I don't think, like, on average, I don't think I worked less than 12 hours a day, right, for several months. And there were days when we had to sort of leave, I had to hit the road early in the morning and come back sometimes late at night. So it's tough. It's tough. So I sympathize with you. It's not easy to study when you're going through that, especially in the heat of Florida, right?
Yeah, yeah, and especially I have a kid. My kid is 2 years old. Back then he was almost one. So when I get back home, I was there Monday to Friday. When I get back home, I really wanted to spend time with him, right? And but after I finalized that project, I said, you know what, this is the time. I need to. I set my exam for I think it was late June, and I believe over the last 2 months before the exam, prior to the exam, I put way much effort. I really put a lot of effort for the last those 2 months.
And you're technically very sound guy, because I remember getting questions from you and you were asking clarifications and whatnot. I never got an impression that Jose is showing any indication of lack of effort on his part, right? Granted, you have been out of school for a long time, right? Almost 10 years, and you did your undergraduate outside of the US. I'm not even sure if I'm not mistaken, maybe English was not the medium of communication, right? So you might have learned some of the stuff in in non-English, okay? And that basically means that the technical terms that you come across can be very challenging, and this is a challenge that a lot of my internationally trained engineers do encounter, right? So it makes it even more difficult, and in the hindsight, even more impressive as an achievement for you to overcome all of those hurdles. Um, so you passed the FE exam with a lot of dedication. How much break did you take before jumping into the P power?
Honestly, about a month.
Just a month. And then you started your P power exam preparation late 2023, is that right?
Yeah, I started June, July, probably I would say September of September 2023.
And what was your schedule like? How many hours were you studying? Was it also a story of start, stop with P power, or you were able to sort of go at it like a train?
Now that this is my thing. I'm a project engineer with PNC. We do design, but I also go to the field, right? So it's kind of when I'm in the field, my study time go down pretty bad because again you work so many hours. So I remember last year, September, October, November, even middle December, I was spending too much time in the field, more time in the field than in the office. So I I said, well, it's hard for me to have a schedule, but my commitment was anytime that I find a window, okay, I'm going to take that time to study. So I typically, and it was pretty much the same approach for the FE. So I study after coming back to the hotel. I study when my kid and my wife were sleeping. So any window that I say, okay, I could be resting. No, no time off, pretty much. Just that time is to study for the FE and the PE.
Yeah, it's really impressive, and I'm grateful that you brought that up. And I've been trying to extract this particular aspect of exam preparation in the recent interviews that I've been doing, because people think that preparing for this exam, and the example I use is that the stars are going to align, and I will have a huge, open schedule for the next 4, 5, 6 months, in which the work is going to die down, slow down. Nobody's going to bug me. My family affairs, my personal life, everybody is going to all of a sudden start prioritizing my studies over everything else that is going on in the rest of the world. And I will basically just walk into the home, into the study session, on my work desk, and without any distraction, any type of interruption, any type of stress, I'm going to be in this Zen mode where I will learn these equations. I'll be fully focused, right? And that is going to go on for the next 4, 5, 6 months without any interruption. Unfortunately, that doesn't happen. The reality is extremely different. The reality requires you to grind. The reality requires you to actually day in, day out, when every ounce of your, you know, consciousness is telling you, don't go ahead and study today. I need a break. And then you basically push yourself forward and still put in that 30-minute, 1 hour, 2 hour, 3 hour session when apparently there's no energy and focus left in you. And this is what it takes to pass the exam, right? And I mean, everybody goes through this, but sometimes people on these online forums, and when they look at the exam specification, they're like, okay, just 4 sections, not a big deal, right? Fault analysis, I know a thing or two about fault analysis. Codes and standards, how difficult can it be? Now you are an expert PNC engineer, I would say, by all definitions, in my opinion, and there's always room to grow and learn. But even when you were working through the PNC section of the P power exam, I think you would agree that there was still a few things that you learned along the way, right, through the program, correct?
Yeah, yeah, big time, big time. And that's FE versus PE. FE, I said, well, you do what you gotta do. You're not really. This is just a exam that you need.
Stepping stone.
Yeah,
It's a stepping stone, right?
exactly. But the PE was different. I really enjoyed studying for the PE exam. Again, I've covered a lot of in my professional career. I have covered a lot of topics that really go to for the PE exam. but I had now the chance to go deeper and with a better structure and have a better understanding, especially on the PNC side. It, it happens a lot that things just start clicking, like, oh, this is why I do it this way, right? And a lot of clicking times that the real life click with the fundamentals, right? So that was I really enjoy studying for the PE way more. And again, I took the PE as an opportunity to go deeper in a lot of concepts.
Yeah. And this is again another thing that I've been reminding my students. In fact, when I have one on one Zoom calls with my students when they enroll in my program, right? I tell them that, okay, guys and girls, you are about to get licensed. It will eventually happen as long as you don't give up. And if you're in my program, the passing rate is extremely high, students who come put in the time and effort. But your primary focus, I agree, is passing the exam. But please make an effort to make a secondary focus as learning the concepts, learning the fine details, right, of where this equation is coming from. You might have been using this, or you, at the back of your mind, there's a rule of thumb that tells you that, okay, grounded systems are better than ungrounded systems, because if you're ungrounded systems, there's something with over voltage. So that's why IEEE tells us no longer that ungrounded system is not a default, right? The default should be some sort of solid grounding or resistance grounding, and they have the whole chart and table and whatnot. But when you go through my program, what I try and explain you is that, okay, let's break it down. What's the reason why ungrounded systems have over voltages on phases that don't get grounded, right? And then we go through the whole phasor diagrams, those calculations, mathematical steps, and then we basically look at, oh, this is the reason why there is 1.73 times over voltage that is happening on the ungrounded phases when there is a single ground on one of the phases, right? And then why is it that the OCPDs are not tripping yet, right? Because why is it that the first fault on ungrounded systems is a freebie? You can memorize it, you can roll along with it. 9 out of 10 times, you will do just fine. When you are on a project and you're like, somebody brings up the idea that, okay, the OCPT is going to trip, you can just say, raise your hand. No, it's ungrounded system. The first fault is freebie. We don't have to worry about it, but we have to worry about the second fault because that will become a double line to line fault, right? Correct? DLG, DLL, and we work through all of them. Now, having that confidence going through those details and steps, I think that puts you at a different level, right? Gives you a different level of confidence. And this is what I tell my students that, okay, when you see me working through these details in depth, right? And these live training sessions running 4 hour long sometimes, right? On a Saturday and a Sunday, then you have to think a little bit broadly. And I'm glad to hear that that's exactly what your approach was, despite working on field, having a young family and everything, right?
Yeah, yeah, exactly. And if you ask me, I didn't have a time frame for the PE. I said to myself, whatever it takes, I'm going to enjoy the journey because I want to learn. And thankfully, I was able to knock out the PE pretty quick because again I was on and off for a few months. December, I said, okay, this is the time to study hard because I want to take the exam in January. I took the exam late January of this year, and I just went to the exam saying, well, I feel good. Like, see what happens. Like, see what happens. And honestly, when I left the exam or after the exam, I felt like, I feel I feel good, and I don't like that. I don't have the feeling. Uh, I don't know. Maybe that's that from my university. That is bad luck, right? Like if you feel too comfortable, maybe you didn't do that good, right? When the math is going too easy, something could be wrong. But that wasn't my case. That wasn't my case.
Well, you were over prepared, right? I mean, you put tons and tons of effort, and you already had a strong background technically, and you took a more learning based approach. And when you do that, you actually open up a little bit more, right? Your mind is more receptive. When you are just focused on, I want to pass this exam, I want to pass this exam, I want to pass this exam, you're just looking for those equations, you're looking for those formulas, you're looking for those concepts that will hopefully appear on the exam. But when you are a little bit more relaxed, a little bit more open, you're like, okay, let's see what happens. I want to learn this, I'll learn this. I have to learn this, I will learn that as well. I have to go through this derivation, I'll do that. I'm going to ask questions as to why this is happening without keeping. You mentioned that you didn't keep track of time, right? In terms of, you left it open ended whenever you felt ready, and when you felt ready, you gave the exam and you walked out of the exam knowing that you passed the exam, basically, when you're that relaxed. So there's a lot to learn from your journey, Jose. Internationally trained engineer, coming to the US, establishing your career, diving into the FE exam preparation mode, you know, overcoming the language barrier, right? Passing FE in the first attempt, diving into the P power, demanding work schedule, away from family, young family, and then continuing on to the project, on with your studies, late nights, after long work days, and getting again the result in the first attempt. So hard work pays off, and your employer must be really happy. Let me, however much you want to tell me, like, what's the reaction you got from your employer?
Well, they were really happy about it because you say it right. I'm international student, so I had a little bit more to show, right? Just to make things more clear.
Even playing field, right? I mean, the good thing about the US, I'm going to, sorry, interrupt you, is that there's a clear path, right? That, okay, you're coming from here, you're coming from there, you're coming from there, right? If you are able to meet these standardized requirements, which are equal for everyone, even if you graduated within the US, right? Even the US graduates have to take these exams. So in that sense, it's really fair. But I do agree, and I have, I've worked with so many students. I've helped them with FEP. It is true that when you're internationally trained, because your credentials are from outside, you have to do a little bit more in order to get your foot in the door and then prove yourself. But the best part is that once you're a PE, like you are now, the playing field is even, right? A PE is a PE, whether you graduated from here or somewhere else.
That is true. That is true. Yeah, and again, they are really happy about it. I remember the first day when I had my first interview, and the CEO told me what you want to do, and I said, well, I want to become a really good engineer. If you give me the opportunity, I'll do my best. I'll do my best, and I will put the time and effort to learn all that I can and grow as an engineer and sure growing in your company as well. So it's growing as an engineer.
Great. And you did just that in a very short period of time. So, congratulations, Jose. It's a wonderful achievement. Lots of opportunities are going to present themselves to you. And I'm sure that with this learning attitude and the growth attitude, you're going to do well in your career, amazingly well in your career. Thanks a lot for your time again.
Thank you, Wasim. Appreciate it.
If you like this video, then please don't forget to subscribe to this channel. Feel free to ask me any questions in the comment section of this video below. You can find tons of success stories of my FE Electrical and PE Power students over here. And if you want to learn more about preparation of FE Electrical and Computer exam and the PE Power exam, then check out these playlists over here. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you soon in the next video.